I've avoided making this episode for months, because I haven't really known how to go about explaining everything that I've worked through over the last year. And it's been a lot. So, in this episode today, I kind of want to walk you through everything that I've been working through in 2024 over the last year and a half, filling you in, because there's a reason why I've been kind of all over the place with this podcast, and it's been directly related to that. The reality is that in October of 2023, I had a baby, and it totally shifted things for me. It changed me, as it should, right? Like, as it should. There's no way that you can have a baby and be the same person that you were before. It just doesn't work. And with me building a business with a certain identity, it was really hard, and it's been really hard for me to figure out, who am I outside of being the binge eating expert? Now that I'm a mom, I love working, but I'm also a mom, and I just had this really tough time figuring out what that looks like now that I am a mom, and now that I have all of these different roles, and how do I balance it? And a lot of things come to light after having a baby that are really easy to brush under the rug when you don't, right? Like, so I realized, oh my gosh, like I was probably working at an unhealthy level. And I didn't really realize that until I was forced to not work because I was on maternity leave. And I realized how uncomfortable that made me, or these things that I was still controlling that felt fine. Like, it felt like no big deal, but I didn't realize how much that was still a way that I was trying to keep myself safe, until I wasn't able to control those things anymore because I had a baby. So things like, sleep was out of my control. My schedule was out of my control. My routine was out of my control. That was really, really difficult. So let me actually just walk you back, because I have a lot to fill you in on. I have talked before on the podcast. I can't remember what episode it was exactly, but I remember it was probably about a year ago. I shared with you guys that I was really struggling after being a mom. Postpartum was very, very difficult for me. I had a really tough time navigating this new identity piece and balancing the fact that I loved being a mom, but I also so deeply loved work and working. And I have these two roles, and I didn't know how to balance both, because I felt like a bad mom being like, I love being a mom, but I also miss work. And then, I wasn't able to fully dedicate myself to work, because when I was at work, I was like, I should be with my daughter. And, we get all these messages that it goes so fast and you need to enjoy every moment and appreciate every single moment. And so there was guilt and shame layered on that. And I just felt really overwhelmed. Not to mention that my daughter was a terrible, terrible sleeper. She never slept through the night until she was 7 months old. She woke up 3 to 5 times every single night until, I kid you not, she was 7 months old. And that became my new thing that I was absolutely obsessed with. It felt like something that I could not get out of my brain. Like, what was I doing wrong? Why couldn't I figure out her sleep? Why couldn't I get it right? And I would hyperfixate on what she was eating, her naps, her schedule, her routine, everything, because I was like, if I can just get this right, then I'm going to finally get her sleep right. And then I'd hear all these moms saying, my baby was sleeping through the night at 8 weeks, and my baby was sleeping through the night at 12 weeks. And then it continued to reinforce I am doing something wrong, which then became I am a bad mom. And it made me feel like shit. And so then I started controlling all these other things that were in my control, like my work schedule, or my social media posts, or my workouts, or just like other things that I could grip onto, because this part of my life felt so out of my control. And when I was about 8 weeks postpartum, I realized, oh my gosh, I need help. Like, I'm going into a place that I don't really love. Like, I do think that from healing my relationship with food and going through binge eating treatment, I am very in tune with when I know that I'm going down a not so great path. And it's a lot easier to catch that and ring it back in. So I noticed myself, kind of falling into just this place that I didn't want to be in. I reached out to a therapist. I started doing therapy again. That was incredibly helpful just in regards to this identity piece, the control piece, but it wasn't enough, because one of the things that I was really struggling with as at the time is, what does this look like for my business? And what does this look like for me being a working mom? And so it was just like a chaotic mix of, how do I balance everything? I am feeling all of these different emotions that I don't really know how to deal with. And I'm literally grasping for anything that I can to just pull myself out of this really uncomfortable emotion that I'm feeling right now. And the reality is that that doesn't work. We got to feel what we got to feel, and we got to work through what we got to work through. And what I really want to share with you all today is that I think that one of the biggest misconceptions about control is that it's not just being uptight, it's a way that we try to keep ourselves safe. So for me, that was my identity became my work. It was how I controlled this feeling of belonging and safety and sense of purpose while everything felt out of my control. And I made an Instagram post the other day, kind of just breaking this down a little bit. And I wanted to talk through this with you guys because it was a layered one. Like, don't get me wrong. It was a layered one. It was layered on purpose because I knew that I was going to talk about it on the podcast. But this was titled, "You Don't Have a Control Problem, You Have a Feeling Problem. What you think you're controlling versus what you're actually trying to avoid feeling." Because what I realized in all of the work that I did over the last year and a half is that I genuinely thought that I was just rigid and uptight. I thought it was just a type A thing. I was like, this is my personality. This is how I am. But what I realized is that by me trying to control everything, not only was it making me miserable, and not only was it making my marriage struggle, and not only was it making, me a not present mom, but what I was really doing is I was trying to keep myself from feeling. So I go through all of these different things in this Instagram post, and I want to go through them with you right now because I think that this is so important. So the first thing that I see so many people controlling, that I was so guilty of controlling, is micromanaging every tiny detail. So what we think that we're controlling with that is the plan, the tiny tasks, the exact way things should be so it all stays perfect. This was me micromanaging Charlotte's schedule to try and get everything perfect so she would sleep through the night, her bottles, her formula, like all of these different things. But I was also micromanaging things at work, my social media posts, my clients, like all of these different things, thinking that, okay, well, if everything is perfect, then I'm perfect, that I'm okay. But what I was actually avoiding feeling by doing that, and what you're actually avoiding feeling by micromanaging the tiny details, is this feeling of being out of control. Like you might miss something, like you'll be exposed as not good enough. And that's totally what I felt. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not a good enough mom. Like, she doesn't deserve me. She deserves a better mom. She deserves a better mom. Like, that's literally how I felt, because it felt like there were so many pieces of me that I couldn't pull together. It felt like I didn't know what I was doing. She wasn't sleeping. Of course, like, it's like, of course, right? It's like, of course. And then I try to come back to my business and things are different. I'm different and everything's all over the place. Here's the real truth though. The real fear is that if I don't keep every piece in place, it'll all fall apart, and I will too. I was already falling apart. So the idea that I was going to fall apart even further, oh my God, then what happens? Then when I have this baby to take care of, what do I do? What do I do? So let me just micromanage all the tiny details, and then maybe that won't happen. Doesn't work. Another really relatable one is people pleasing. Yes, people pleasing is a way that we control what we think that we're controlling, how people see us, their reactions, their closeness. What we're actually avoiding feeling is feeling rejected, feeling misunderstood, like we're too much or not enough. I totally fall into this with content, if I'm being completely honest. I just want to make everybody happy. I just want to make everybody happy, which is really hard when, I have over 200,000 people following me. There's no freaking way that I'm going to make everybody happy. And then when I don't make people happy, I make the problem me. So the real fear there is, if they really knew me, they'd pull away. It's the fear of disconnection, right? Having rigid rules, whether that's rules with food, which is what I used to have, but this definitely shifts cycles. It moves from, okay, well, I have rules about food, to I have rules about how I parent, or I have rules about how I run my household, or I have rules about how my day goes. And we think that we're controlling our worthiness or productivity, what we achieve, that we're good enough. But what we're actually avoiding feeling is like we're messy or lazy or failing. But the real fear there is if I relax, I'll lose control and lose myself. Do you see how, when it comes to control, and this is something that I really had to get honest with myself about the last year, is it's not just about everything being perfect. And it's not even just about what we're avoiding feeling. It's about the real fear underneath that. And the thing that's so important for us to acknowledge when it comes to what is the real fear here is, if we don't look at what is the real fear underneath this, then this cycle just keeps jumping, and it jumps and it jumps and it jumps and it jumps. And it just shape shifts, and we continue to repeat the same thing in a different package, and it's freaking exhausting. Two other ones that I had mentioned in here that I also think are important to acknowledge that are so relatable is fixating on things, avoiding things. The real fear, if I made a mistake, it means that I'm bad and they'll see it. If I face this, I'll feel too much and I won't know how to handle it. If they don't get me, they'll leave me. Do you see how a lot of these real fears come back to, I'm not going to be able to handle it. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be alone, which makes total sense because our brain craves certainty. It craves safety, and it craves belonging. So we try to control all of these different things to get certainty, safety, and belonging by things that don't actually give us certainty, safety, and belonging. It's all an illusion, which actually gives us less certainty, safety, and belonging because we start isolating ourselves and we start breaking down and we start losing ourselves. Now, the thing that I so deeply relate to, that I know that you probably relate to too, if you struggle with control, is when you feel out of control, then the thing that I hear a lot is, well, I just want to feel in control. I just want to feel in control. I just want to feel in control of food. I just want to feel in control of my life. I just want to feel in control of my business. I just want to feel in control of money. But what you're saying when you say, I just want to feel in control, is I just want to feel safe. You're saying, I want to be able to trust myself. I want to be able to know that whatever happens, I'll be able to handle it. So what do you do with all this information? What do you freaking do? Well, I'm going to tell you what I've done over the last year and a half to get to the place where I am now, where, let me just say, I'm not here like tooting my own horn being like, I am amazing, my life is amazing, unicorns and rainbows, like I never have a bad day and everything is perfect. No. What I will say is that I've gotten so much better at letting go of things that don't need to mean so freaking much. And I've gotten a lot better at being in the moment. And I've gotten a lot better at just embracing the rocky roller coaster that being a mom just entails, and also just being more present and having more fun in my life, because that's really what I've lost when it comes to, when I struggled with food, or when it, transferred over work, or when it, then went to my baby, is you lose so much fun. And then it's like, what's the point? Like, what am I doing all of this for? Like, I'm not even happy. I'm not enjoying my life. And then we get into this cycle of, well, when I achieve this thing, or when I do this thing, or when I have this thing, or when my baby is this age, or when I get to this milestone, then I'll be happy. Then I can relax. And you know what happens is that life just continues to pass you by and pass you by and pass you by. And you're just on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And you never get to that point of just being happy. And I think that's all what we want, right? Like, just to be happy, like just to have fun and just to enjoy life. So if that's what you want, then keep listening, because that's what we're talking about right here. So when it comes to acknowledging, okay, this is not a control problem, this is a feeling problem. And I think that's where we need to start, right? Like, just acknowledging, okay, hey, like, this really isn't about control. This is about feeling and what I don't want to feel, and what feels really scary to feel, and what feels really hard to admit. We have to start there, because once we start there and we understand what is the deeper fear, like what is it that I'm really trying to avoid, we work with that. Because the thing about our nervous system is that we can tell ourselves all of the quote unquote right logical things, but we won't feel it until we experience it. So, what I mean by that is, I can tell myself, it's fine. Like your baby's going to be fine. You're not a bad mom, or all of these different things that I know logically are true. I don't believe it because I have all of this proof and evidence that I have stacked up for reinforcing why it's not true. So, what I need to do to actually start changing and shifting how I feel is by acknowledging, what am I actually avoiding feeling and what am I really afraid of? And then using that to challenge myself to experience and feel, to show myself that whatever happens, I can handle it. I don't want you to twist my words. Don't get ahead of me here. When I say challenge myself to feel that and experience that, I don't mean that I'm just like diving into sharky water. What I mean is, what are the things that I am holding myself back from doing because I am avoiding feeling something or I'm deeply afraid of something that I could just take one step towards? Something that feels challenging but still doable, so I can build this muscle of showing myself, hey, I can be in this uncomfortable situation and still handle it. Because that's what we're doing when we're controlling, right? We're trying to get ourselves out of discomfort. So how do we relax and we let go? We show ourselves that I can sit in this discomfort and I can handle it. This is one of the biggest misconceptions that I see when it comes to changing and growing and emotions and all this stuff, is the belief that for me to overcome this, I need to show myself that I'm okay. And obviously there's truth to that, right? Like, we want you to be okay. And I think that that's not the end all be all goal, because what is that reinforcing? That I'm only okay if things are okay. That's not what we want. We want for you to be able to see and experience that whatever happens, whether it's okay or not okay, you can handle it. That's how you start to let go. That's how you start to trust yourself. That's how you get better at sitting in discomfort, because life is uncomfortable. Like, there's always going to be uncomfortable things that happen. Now, I know that's really not shiny, but that's the point. I had someone send me a DM the other day about feeling like this journey is always that. It's a journey and it's exhausting. And she was saying how she was just feeling really tired about it always being something to work on, something to work on, something to work on. And I so deeply feel that, because I, for the last, 10 years or so, have always been kind of working on something. And for me, I don't necessarily feel it or see it as this burden. And I'm going to talk you through why, because this is something so important that I was talking through with my group clients the other day that was just like, wow, why don't we talk about this more? It's really looking at how you're viewing and how you're seeing this growth evolution process, because you are evolving. So of course there's going to be more work, and of course that's going to come with more obstacles. But honestly, that shows that you're alive. And I know that that's like so cheesy to say, but it is the truth. Like, you being here and you experiencing this life, like, it shows that you're alive. And thank God for that. Now, the thing that I really want to double click on is, when you are in this process of growth and you're on to the next thing, which you always will be, it will feel like a burden and it will feel exhausting if you look at it as, I am fixing myself versus I am growing myself. It's really the difference in having the mindset of viewing this as fixing versus growing. When you're looking at this as, I am fixing myself, then that is reinforcing that something is wrong, broken, or flawed, and you are motivated to change by fear or shame. You can just feel the heaviness of that, right? Something is wrong with me. I'm broken. I'm flawed. So I need to fix myself. Oh, here comes another reinforcement or another thing that just shows that I'm broken or flawed and I need to fix myself. That is you saying like all of these little obstacles. Just example, like after what happened when I went through postpartum and pregnancy and I had this really hard time. Oh, here we go. Here's another reinforcement that something is wrong with me, that I am broken. That is going to make me feel like I have to fix something. And that's what's going to make it feel like very heavy and very exhausting. However, the exact same thing can happen. The exact same thing did happen, right? Like you're going to go through these things that are hard. But if you look at it as I am growing instead, this becomes less of something is wrong with me, I'm broken, and more of I'm expanding, I'm evolving. And this is something that is motivated by curiosity, openness, and possibility rather than it being motivated by fear and shame. And when it's motivated by curiosity, openness, and possibility, the whole process feels so different. So I was growing as a mom. I wasn't fixing myself, I was growing. And every obstacle that I experienced, every hardship that came with my routine changing, us moving unexpectedly 4 months postpartum, my business totally, all of these things would have been so much heavier if I looked at each one as this is a problem to fix rather than this is an opportunity for me to grow. And I know that that's like so annoying for me to say. I would have been annoyed at myself for saying that 2 years ago, too, if I'm being completely honest. But it feels so annoying because when we're in this place of shame and fear, we feel like we need that to change and grow. We feel like we deserve that. And then the solution needs to be this like big, massive overhaul thing. But that's just not how development works. Like, it's really not. It's a slow process and it's boring and it's mundane. And that's why not everybody does it. And that's why it's so much easier to fall into the trap of the quick fixes versus just continuing to put one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and going and taking steps. And the funny thing about it, funny isn't the right word, but the ironic thing about it is that what actually gets you there faster is the thing that feels slower right now, because when we fall into the quick fixes, what happens? We're right back at square one because it didn't actually solve anything. The thing about fast is that it makes you believe, or it makes you feel like you get to skip the middle. You never skip the middle. You never skip the middle. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making when it comes to any kind of healing work, whether it be with your relationship with food or just, emotions, perfectionism, like anything in general, is you try to go around it. You find any way to go around it. You have to go through it. Like you do. And it's messy and it's hard and it's uncomfy. And I mean, that's what makes you stronger. And that is what gives you the resilience to believe that whatever discomfort happens, I can handle it, right? So here's something that I really had to sit with that I want you to challenge yourself to sit with as well when it comes to this idea of I want change and I want it now and I want it to happen fast, because what I'm experiencing right now is so deeply uncomfortable. I want to get out of it right this minute. When you want something fast, what are you actually trying to avoid feeling? So for me, when I was, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months postpartum, and I was feeling all of this shame and pressure and disappointment and just like all of these really heavy, nasty emotions, that's what I was trying to avoid feeling. So I was like, the faster that I can make everything on the outside better, maybe that'll fix the inside. So maybe if I get more social media followers, maybe if I make more money, maybe if I, redesign my house, or maybe if I, make things more aesthetic, maybe if I make everything else on the outside like really perfect, then everything else is going to feel better and it's going to fall into place and, yay, yay. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen because what we're doing is we are just putting icing on like a rotten cake. Like it doesn't work. And what we need to do is acknowledge what we're actually trying to avoid feeling and let ourselves feel that. And then the other thing that I think is so important for us to think about and ask ourselves when we want to get out of this so fast and we want to do the quick thing and we want to do it and we want to do it now is, what evidence do you have that fast has served you in the long run? Do you have any evidence that fast has served you in the long run? Because I'll tell you right now, I do not. I have zero evidence that any time that I've done anything really, really fast, that it's ever worked out in my favor. And the crazy thing is that I hit a breaking point January of 2024, about 8 weeks after I had Charlotte. That was a year and a half ago. It has been a year and a half. I've been doing some massively deep work for a year and a half. It's already a year and a half. You guys, Charlotte turns 2 in October. That is absolutely insane. It's insane. We think that, all of this work is going to take so long and it's going to take forever. And it does take a long time, don't get me wrong. But the time is going to pass anyways. And it actually goes by a lot faster than you'd think. Here's why going slow through healing and growth and through tough points is so hard. It's really tough because slow threatens your illusion of control, right? When it's fast and we're going fast, we feel in charge. Whether it's the fastest way to lose weight or the fastest way to get more money or the fastest way to grow social media followers, it makes us feel in charge because I have this plan and I know exactly what I'm going to do and I know exactly how it's going to happen, but then it doesn't. So then what? We're right back in the cycle. Not to mention, slow demands a hell of a lot of trust. A hell of a lot of trust for you to continue moving forward when you don't know what the end is going to be. And honestly, I truly believe that that's why so many people don't continue on with healing work and where they pull out, like right when things are getting like really good and right when you're getting into the meat of it, is because you can't see the end, and that's really hard and that's really scary. So what do we go back to? What we know, even if it's miserable and even if it's ruining our lives, because at least we know what's happening there. And then slow means you have to feel, which, I mean, if you've gotten one thing out of this, it's that, again, we control what we don't want to feel. And that's really why this needs to be a conversation about how to sit in discomfort and how to show yourself, not necessarily that you are okay, but to show yourself whatever happens, you're going to be able to handle it. So what I've realized over the last year and a half is that there were a lot of times that I wasn't okay. There were a lot of times where things were really hard. There were a lot of breakdowns. There were a lot of pain points. There were a lot of struggles. I can't even tell you how many times I've said, my camera literally just died mid-thought, mid-sentence. I don't even remember what I was talking about. That's okay. See, that's a perfect example right there. Old me would have totally freaked out. I would have scrapped this whole video. I would have restarted the whole thing. We're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. It doesn't have to be that deep. It doesn't have to mean so much. So here's the deal. What I've realized is that what so many of us are craving is just fun and play and enjoyment and getting back into our lives. And that's so hard when that takes a lot of vulnerability. It also takes a lot of trust, and it also takes you letting go of control. So, as I am working on incorporating more fun and play and pleasure into my life, I figured, why not have us do it together? Why not have us do it together as I am still trying to figure out who am I outside of the binge eating expert? Like, who am I in this new version and phase of my life? I don't fully know yet, but what I do know is that being a mom is hard. Being a mom is really hard. And it brings up a lot for you that you probably didn't realize was there. And it challenges you to a level that you didn't even know that you could be challenged. Charlotte is a toddler, and I mean, before I dropped her off at daycare at 9 a.m., we probably had 4 different meltdowns. I mean, the amount of emotion regulation, it's just a lot, okay? It's just a lot. And for me to continue to enjoy life and to be a better mom for her, to be a better therapist, for me to be just like an all-around better human being, happier human being, a more present human being. I don't need to do more, if I'm being completely honest. I need to do less. I need to do less controlling. I need to do less micromanaging. I need to do less fixing and let myself have more fun and play. Because It's the point, right? It's the point. I mean, that trend going around social media right now, I mean, that's a little bit dated. Like 2 weeks ago, that was like, almost forgot this was the point. Like, that's what I feel right now. Like, I almost forgot that, fun and play and laughing was the point. But it's not easy for me to just let go and have fun. And if you're listening to this, I have a feeling it's probably not that easy for you as well. So we're going to do it together. So here's the deal. I am planning a little 8 week getting back into my life, having more fun here on the podcast. It's just you and me. We're doing this together here. And I figured what better place to do this than here on the podcast. So, over the next 8 weeks, I'm going to be dropping episodes for you guys that are going to help us get back into having more fun and playing and really challenging these beliefs around fun and play and being present and who you are and letting go of control and putting yourself first and all that good stuff, so that we're not looking at this as fixing ourselves. We're looking at this as I am growing, I am evolving. Before we can do that though, we need to set some groundwork. So, the very first thing that I want you to do this week is I need you to get very crystal clear on your control pattern. So, what you're going to do is I want you to answer this question or answer this fill in the blank. Control for me right now looks like, and you can go back to that social media post that I had posted. I'll drop the link to that in the description box below, so it's really easy for you to access. But control looks like micromanaging. Control looks like people pleasing. Control looks like over explaining. Like, what does control look like for you right now? And it might be all of those, but I'd really love for you to maybe narrow it down to like the one or two biggest that you feel like are really, really having an impact on your life. Let's start there. And then I would love for you to take it deeper and ask yourself, what are you really trying to protect yourself from? Now, that's a hard question, and you might not be able to answer it right away. And if you find yourself like, I don't know, that's just you trying to keep yourself safe, because what's underneath there might be really scary or hard for you to say. So something that I always offer to my clients to kind of like break the ice on that one is, if you're like, I don't know. Say if you were to guess, what would you say? If I was to guess, I know that I don't know, but if I was to guess, what would I say? What that does is it takes away this feeling of like trying to get the right answer, and it just allows you to put out anything, which is what we're trying to get there. So some examples to just get your brain running with this one that I relate to, but also a lot of my clients have said: fear of not being worthy or good enough, fear of everything falling apart. Maybe it's fear of facing old pain, fear of being judged, disappointing others, fear of failure, fear of being just average, not special, fear I won't be able to handle it. What is the deeper fear there? What are you really trying to protect yourself from? The reason why it's so important for us to acknowledge this fear is because if you don't name the fear, then the fear is going to stay in charge. It's then going to turn the fear that you are experiencing into this feeling of shame rather than curiosity. Like, I wonder why I feel this way. I wonder why it's so hard for me to let go of this. I wonder why I have such a hard time with XYZ. So then it's not about you as a human being. It's just you getting curious about why you do the things that you do, which then ultimately gives you answers. We love answers, right? And then I want you to notice what this level of control is doing to your life. I want you to name 3 ways that this fear driving the control is robbing you of fun, presence, and ease. So is it keeping you from spending time with friends? Is it keeping you from being present with your kids? Is it keeping you from doing things with your partner? Is it keeping you from enjoying things? Like, how is it robbing you of fun, presence, and ease? Get super, super clear on that. 3 ways that it's robbing you of fun, presence, and ease. And then we're not going to stay there. Don't worry. We're not going to stay in this heavy, heavy cloud, but we do need to get really, really honest with ourselves for us to understand what it is that we're working on and what we need to change. So then what I want you to think about and what we're going to do together this week, you and me, this is our task for this week, okay? I want you to think about, what would it look like for me to loosen this grip just a little bit this week? So let's say you are controlling everything in regards to your food. Like that is where you control. Like that's the rules. That's where you're micromanaging everything. Okay. So what would it look like for me to loosen the grip just a bit? When people say let go of control, I know the immediate thought is I got to let everything go. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is you loosen the grip just a little bit so you can show yourself, oh, I could take one finger off and I could handle it. So when it comes to food, that might look like eating one meal without tracking it. Okay, I'm not saying that you need to completely delete MyFitnessPal today. That might be like an end all be all goal, but we got to start somewhere. And we need to start somewhere that's going to make you feel really good and really liberated instead of it being you're just white knuckling it through just to get through. Like that's not helping anything. Let's say you completely micromanage the house and you do everything, but it's totally draining you because you're exhausted because you're holding all of these different hats. Well, loosening the grip just a little bit might look like asking your partner to do one task. The other night, oh my gosh, so amazing. I texted my husband and I was like, hey, you're on dinner tonight. And I came home with my daughter and dinner was done and it was ready. And it was amazing because I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to do it. It was like done. It was ready. So great. It took a lot of work for me to be able to do that, right? Like that came from healing my relationship with food. And then, anyways, okay. So again, recap, you're going to get crystal clear on your control pattern. Control for me right now looks like what? You are going to identify the deeper fear. What are you really trying to protect yourself from? You're going to notice where this is robbing you from presence, ease, and joy in your life. And then here's our action. You are going to loosen your grip just a tiny bit this week. So if you're people pleasing, maybe you say no, or if you're micromanaging every task, maybe you delegate. You just need to loosen just a bit. We're doing this together, okay? This is so fun. We're doing this together because you and I are going to relax. We're going to stop making everything mean so much. We're going to get back into our lives. This is us growing. This is us evolving. This is not us fixing. So that we can actually enjoy our lives instead of saying, you know, when XYZ happens, then I'll be happy, then I'll have more fun, then I'll be able to be present. No. We're doing this now. We're doing this right now for some accountability because we're doing this together. We're a group, okay? I want you to drop in the comments below what you are doing to loosen the grip just a little bit so we can cheer each other on. We can do this together. And I'm so excited to see you guys next week for continuing this conversation, having more fun, and I have so much planned for us over the next 8 weeks. Okay. Episode is done. After months and months of avoiding this, I did it. Okay. Look, I'm telling myself right now it wasn't that bad. It wasn't perfect, and that's fine. That is so okay. Okay. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.